Good evening. This is Adrenaline Radio. I'm Fred Blanchard, host of Adrenaline Motorsports. You're listening to, this is 1680 on your AM dial. And again, this evening, we're fortunate enough to have an in-studio guest. I'll explain a little bit about our guest. His name is Javier Vasquez. And Javier, I've met some years ago. And he's a businessman in the aftermarket industry, and he owns basically Foundry Works, which is a facility that provides the manufacturers of performance parts, cast parts. He does a lot of casting for the industry, such as engine blocks and cylinder heads for the high-performance industry. And but behind the scenes, Javier also has a hobby in motorsports, and that was one of the reasons that I asked him to come on to the program this evening. And very interesting in regards to off-road racing, and I'm not talking about what you find in today's events, such as they're pretty much formulated in facilities at like the Coliseum and what have you. They come and they fill the place up full of dirt and put jumps in there and that type of thing. This was back in the day when off-road racing was really off-road racing, and we're talking about events that you run 1,000 miles, and where that began was in the early days back in the 60s and the 70s. Basically going from Ensenada to Mexico, in Mexico going to Ensenada to La Paz. And in those days, there were no roads. It was strictly desert. But the point of all this was to get Javier here to tell us some of his stories, because he was there at the beginning. Not one of these things where it was a paved highway and what have you. It was serious racing back in the day. And Javier, I'm going to start, I guess, in asking you how pretty much, when did you get to see the beginnings of this type of racing? I think that we talked briefly about back in your school days, and you basically grew up in Mexico. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
That's correct. I lived in Ensenada, Mexico at the time, and my first race was in 1967. And that's where it all began. Our school days were cut short, or we were all taken to nearest road where the races would begin or go through there throughout the years.
When you mentioned beginning, I guess how many vehicles do you see that they were starting this event? I mean, was it 5 cars, 10 cars, 100 cars? It probably filled the town up, didn't it?
Yeah, it was quite a few cars back in that day. Every model and shape that you could possibly imagine, anything that you could put together in your backyard, literally.
You mentioned that in some of the conversations we've had regarding some of this, they weren't as you see them today in some of the publications that are printed today. With they were taking just basically some type of a vehicle that with stock engine and stock parts. And tell us a little bit about that, how it began.
Absolutely, there was back in that day was just a regular old truck that you could get. You just did a roll cage and added a couple of shocks to each axle, and you were ready to go racing. There was regular 4-door vehicles, automobiles just as well. It carried on to, good Lord, they had a motorhome racing out there at one time.
Well, that would be interesting to see.
Yeah, it was.
Well, tell me about the conditions that you had to race under. I know that we had some conversation about that. When you started racing, the conditions that they have today and what you started with, kind of tell us some of that history.
Well, the conditions were pure nature. You just went out there and did what you could. You didn't have any radios, certainly no GPS. We really didn't have anything. We knew where Ensenada was, and we certainly knew which way La Paz was, and God help you on the way.
Well, I think you hit it right on the head. I think you had to say a lot of prayers.
Absolutely.
The distance that you ran these events at that time, how many miles did you have to go, and how many hours did it take you to get there?
Well, it was 1,000 miles, and it took us, the first time that we did it, took us 34 to 35 hours to get there.
Now, this isn't where you park at the local hotel and get a night's sleep, is it?
Absolutely not. There was no sleep. We didn't know what that was. We just had to keep it going. Unfortunately, at that time, it was just the two people in the car. There was no pit support. There was, you wanted to get gas, you literally had to borrow it, beg for it, or you drive out to the main highway, hopefully to the local gas station.
To the local gas station. I'm sure it was all lit up waiting for you to drive in, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
some of the farmers would sell gas in a 1-gallon container.
really?
Metal containers, and I know we were paying at that time 65 cents, which was a killing that we're making money with gas, because back then it was 22 cents a gallon. But there was nowhere to get it, so we used to buy it from the farmers and everybody else.
Well, I guess I'm going to have to ask you this question, and I'm a food freak. I have to eat once in a while. So the bottom line is, how did you guys eat? What did you take with you? How did you supply yourselves?
Well, the first race that we went on to, this adventure, it was 1970, and actually my mother packed me some burritos to take along the way, and those burritos last us for 3 days. They didn't smell very good at the end, but we still ate them.
Well, that sounds like an interesting. So you didn't have much refrigeration or anything else. What did you do for drinking water? Did you have any of that?
Well, being the desert, there wasn't much we could get, but we certainly used to find where the animals used to be fed in the water that was kept in there, or pump it out of the pipe.
It sounds like a place I'd like to be. Yeah.
Like the Western days.
Yeah, well, I think you summed it up quite well. So your first race was back when, was it?
1970 for me.
The very first time, huh?
Yes, sir.
Well, as it progressed forward, different events started to occur, and I guess things started to change with the vehicles. And kind of fill us in then about the various events that became available then at that time. I mean, I'm sure that they progressed from 1970 forward.
Yeah, it started in '67 all the way. When we started racing was in 1970. From there on, they had the San Felipe 250, they had the Baja 500, and certainly the Baja 1000, which was the one that began the whole thing. And from there, they throughout the years they moved into the states, and then they had the Laughlin Leap, the Firecracker 250, Parker 400. There were several events all through the United States, and also in mainly in Mexico, really. Well,
it sounds like that due to the fact that most of the deserts are on our side of the planet here in the western states, I guess that there were events that I think there's things going on even today. I know that there's some motorcycle things, but they also were involved in this 1,000-mile race from Ensenada to La Paz.